Derek, the Cleveland Browns have extended Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for 3 more years. That's 4 years that we will have him, including this year. Derek, I'm going to pull up the exact number because I forgot to do that before we started. My apologies. But
I have it here if you want.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the Browns have extended JOK 3 years, $39 million extension, $25 million guaranteed, making JOK the 6th highest paid linebacker behind Patrick Queen.
There we go. So, Derek, with that being said, factoring in what we have seen throughout Jeremiah's entire time here in Cleveland to this extension, including the cap number that he will end up falling at, Derek, what are your thoughts on the Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah extension?
Yeah, so it kind of caught me off guard. I mean, obviously we know this is something that was in the works, but to actually see it get done, I wasn't expecting it. Maybe I was in the wrong there. Should have been expecting it, but yeah, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. JOK being the 6th highest paid linebacker is great value. I think given what he does, and I think you got to judge people, players on what you do, not what you say, right? There's a lot of guys that make a lot of off-season headlines because they pack on muscle, they look fast, you have the off-season videos and stuff like that. JOK is somebody who has consistently, and especially last year, been one of, if not the most impactful players on the Browns defense. And that's the same defense that has the Defensive Player of the Year on it, right? So for JOK to make an impact that he has is insane. He led the team in tackles for loss last year. So there you go. There's a stat for you. But yeah, he's worth every penny. I mean, I would have made him the number 1 paid linebacker. I think he's that good. So to get him for the money that we're getting him for, keeping him in Cleveland for the next 4 years, I think it's an absolute must. And Tristan, we were talking about it a little while ago, meaning months ago, of like, hey, you got to keep JOK. You cannot lose JOK. And we talked about what that linebacker room would be like without him. And, man, he is a player. Tristan, we've said it many times. JOK is a modern linebacker with an old-school mentality. He's fast, he's quick, but he hits you, he wraps up, flies to the football. And, anytime that he's on the field, his presence is felt. Anytime he's off the field, his absence is felt. That's how you know he is an elite level of player. And to get a guy like that extended for 6th highest paid money, thank you very much, Andrew Berry. I don't know how we're able to pull off some of the deals that we do. A lot of people, a lot of fans of other teams love to clown us for some of our deals, saying Jerry Jeudy, Deshaun Watson, right? But some of the deals that we have made in terms of investment-wise with David Njoku, and now like JOK, you're getting these guys playing at a high level for not high level money. And you cannot overstate how valuable that is. So all in all, I couldn't be any happier. I think, I heard somebody say in order to be like a great defense, you have to have an elite player at every level. And, for the Browns, I would say we have an elite player up front, obviously with Myles Garrett, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. And we got a lot of really good guys around him. At the linebacker position, JOK. He's our elite player there. We'll see what's around him there this year. They bring in Jordan Hicks. And then in the secondary, we know what those guys are. So JOK is a huge part of this team. I couldn't be any happier to keep him around. I know DeQuell Jackson in the offseason last year was saying the Browns should trade him and he's not worth anything. I'm so glad that JOK played the way he did last year because the people who were hating on him, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe the JOK hate last offseason. So to see the love that he's getting this offseason and the respect that he should have gotten, it's great to see. And Jim Schwartz has brought out the best in him. So Tristan, JOK extended. What are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, so there's two big elements to this that I want to, I guess three, that I want to bring in and discuss. So the first thing being the player himself, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He's had a very interesting career. Similar to Grant Delpit, under the previous defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, it just didn't seem like they fit. Didn't seem comfortable in their roles. Didn't seem like they were capable of contributing under his vision. Especially when I think of the year that Joe Woods got fired. That defensive line, like, oh my gosh, it was so terrible. Do you remember who our starting D tackles were that year?
Okay, so we're talking 2020.
This would have been 2021, 2022? Because we just played the 22-23 season.
Yeah.
Or wait. No, we played the 23-24 season just now. So this would have been the 22-23 season.
Okay. So that would have been Jadeveon Clowney.
That he would have been on the edge. Yep.
So it was Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the white dude. What was his name?
You want my help?
No, hold on. Taven Bryant.
Yep. Taven Bryant.
And then inside would have been old buddy who went to the Niners from us. Of course, now I can't remember his name. I want to say Jordan, right?
Jordan Elliott.
Jordan Elliott. Yep. Okay.
So also there was Malik Jackson, who was our third defensive tackle.
And he wasn't terrible.
No, he wasn't.
He was good.
He was solid. In his role, he was solid. Which doesn't say much because everybody else in that room sucked. No offense to any of those guys if they're watching, but and I just remember every single snap, just those guys got pushed back, and JOK, like, he couldn't run forward. He would have a lineman all up in his face every single time, every single snap, because that defensive line was brutal. At least the interior was. And it just makes me like laugh just looking at his growth from that season to the year following and seeing just what coaching could do for him and what investment at the defensive tackle position could do for him. I mean, last year he had a phenomenal season. He was the player that we all thought that we were drafting when we traded up to get him in the second round of, this would have been...
No, it wasn't...
2021?
Yes, because it was like the year after... It was in Cleveland.
It would have been the Greg Newsome draft. Because we got Greg Newsome and we got JOK. And Greg Newsome was the year after Jedrick Wills. So, yes, that makes sense. So, 2020 was Jed, 2021 was Greg and JOK.
Do you remember who the third pick from Newsome JOK was? Do you remember the next man we took?
In the third round? Was that David Bell?
Nope.
No?
It's your favorite player of all time, dude.
What?
Yeah, it's your favorite player. You were on here.
Oh, Anthony Schwartz?
Every week.
Oh, I forgot that was him. Oh,
every week.
I thought he was the year before.
Nope. That was the same draft because I vividly remember being like, because I was at my buddy's house and they were upset because I was on Twitter and then, spoiling picks. And they're like, just watch it on the TV. And I'm like, no, I got to know. And I saw us trade up for JOK. And I was like, I knew as soon as we traded up, we were taking JOK. And I'm like, dude, this draft is unreal. I was like, we've gotten two great players. And I'm like, man, like, what else can we get in this draft? And then next thing I know, Anthony Schwartz. And me and my buddy are on the couch, and he's like, do you like that pick? And I go, no, I hate that pick. And he's like, yeah, me neither. And he's a Steelers fan. But he's realistic, right? He can admit, when players are good, but that was rough.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah. But anyways, let's go back to JOK. What we saw from him last year, was this guy that was just very, very quick to the ball. His instincts were just spot on. Whenever he was blitzing, he was getting there. He was wrecking plays. Myles Garrett, credit to him. He deserved Defensive Player of the Year. But part of the reason why the team defense was as good as it was is because JOK was everywhere. Like, I don't think people understand, right? JOK was the reason. Ultimately, he would have been one of the reasons why the defense ended up being as good as it was. And this is why. The secondary was really, really good. We all know this. Arguably the best secondary in the league. And then you've got the pass rush. Last year it was fantastic. One of the best in the league. The interior defensive line was good. I would say it's definitely in the top half of the league. But where we, at times, were struggling was short passes as well as against the run. And those struggles come from games where either JOK had an off game or games where he wasn't playing. That's how important he was last year, because teams could not run outside of their offensive tackles when JOK was on the field. It just was impossible for them. The screen game, I mean, when JOK was on the field, it was incredibly hard for teams to get that going. He alone was a huge factor in those two things. And when you have a player in Myles Garrett who is going to get to the quarterback and get to the quarterback quickly, and you've got a defensive line that's a good defensive line that's going to generate pressure, those are two things that you need to go well for you, is the short passes and the runs. And JOK was such a huge, huge, huge piece in making it so that way those two aspects of other teams' game plans were almost nullified. So that's how important this guy is for this team. And just seeing that progression from year one to year two, having the struggles that he had, not really looking like the player that we thought we drafted, to year three under Jim Schwartz, just being a star. Same thing as Grant Delpit. Like, those guys just finally were put in a situation to succeed, and they just took off and they ran with it. Both of them got the money that they deserved in the extensions. I couldn't be happier for either of them. Before I move on to my next kind of aspect, Derek, was there any comments that you had about kind of all of that I just kind of said there?
Yeah, so often on this show, we talk about Amari Cooper and how almost underappreciated Amari Cooper is here. I feel the exact same way about JOK. And for every reason that you just mentioned, the dude he's a one-of-a-kind player. I mean, there's a lot of really good linebackers out there, right? And you have your guys like Fred Warner. I think we can probably both agree is the best linebacker in the NFL, right? Fred Warner is a ball hawk. He is really good as far as like getting turnovers from the linebacker position, right? But in terms of just flying to the ball and being a disruptor, playmaker, impact guy, I don't know. I mean, I think JOK might be the best in that category. He's that good. When you turn on the tape, he's one of these guys, right, that you have to set yourself apart, right? There's a lot of really good players, but the great ones set themselves apart. And, to steal a Skip Bayless phrase here, JOK jumps off the screen. Every time you watch a Browns game, you have certain guys that just pop off, and you're like, who is that? Myles Garrett, because he's a freak, and then JOK. right? We have a lot of really, really good players. We have a lot of great players on that defense. But in terms of making an impact, man, he is top of the list. Top of the list. And I think people really, really don't value him like we should. So.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. Now, kind of my second and third points I want to bring up with this extension, I'm going to merge kind of into one. So the second thing was the team, right? Where does this put the team as far as the signing itself, right? Like, you got JOK for this year and then 3 more years, right? With this defense, it ensures that the core of this team, what it relies on, it's going to stick here, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to stay the same, which I believe is the right thing to do. I believe that's the right way to go about it. These guys proved a lot last year, and they proved how good they could be. For me, the next biggest extension that needs to happen is Martin Emerson, but that's not until next offseason. But with that being said, that also kind of goes into my next topic.